I never thought I wanted to be in marketing. I never knew what marketing or advertisement was, but I was always interested in people. The more I studied that career, my role and what I needed to do, I realized, oh, this is actually marketing. I was doing a product book for a pharmaceutical company for rheumatoid arthritis. And the same day, I'm doing a photo shoot for a Burger King. I think the whole process of that just really inspired me to think, oh, this is how you make impact.
Our guest today is David Kim. David has extensive experience in marketing and brand management. He's currently working as the marketing director at Flexfit, where he is responsible for budgeting, brand strategy, and omnichannel marketing. Prior to Flexfit, David worked at II Combined USA Inc., which you know better as Gentle Monster, where he held multiple roles, including customer experience director, director of digital strategy, and brand media manager. Now, in these positions, he focused on creating a cohesive brand experience, establishing marketing processes, and managing social media and press events. Before all that, he worked at D Major Inc. as a senior content planner, Wonderman as an account executive, and Cowan Initech in various marketing and sales roles. His experience also includes working as a marketing associate at We Education, where he handled material production, trade shows, and client relations. And if you're wondering why he looks a little tired, he's the father of a 1-month-old. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't think I've ever heard someone read that to me. I feel old now.
And congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. And yes, it's great. It's a great blessing, a third one. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Understood. And if you have to get coffee during this, understood.
Yeah, just give me a shout if I start dozing off.
You got you. All right. I want to start with your particular career path, right? And it's varied. Like, I know you and I talked offline kind of thing, and you and I both have very circular routes to our careers, right? Your experience includes in HR and education, sales and heavy machinery. And I want to even, how do you go from HR and education to heavy machinery sales to marketing? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think as a kid, I never thought I wanted to be in marketing. I never knew what marketing or advertisement was, but I was always interested in people. And I think what fascinated me was not just like the typical abstract idea of business, but more so the end transaction. I had this fascination over how transactions worked and the before and after and all that. And I think that made me think that I was always a people person. So I never really pursued a career in HR either, but I just saw an opportunity. I thought it was interesting. I thought I could meet a diverse set of people and just kind of learn more from that, and which I did. But once I was in it, I learned more that it's not just people that I was interested in. It was more so the influence around the transactions and how to influence people to do certain things. I guess during HR, that was a lot of what we were doing. We were influencing people to act a certain way. But I think as I was doing these things or making different material, like the company thought they kind of pushed me towards sales more. So at the end of that, I was like, I never really want to do sales. So I left to do something more in finance in Cohen. And I think the same thing happened there. I was eventually the procurement officer at one point. But as I was negotiating with other people, my manager thought, oh, you'd do better in sales. And no matter where I would go, bottom line is I would always get pushed towards sales. And when in sales, it was always like trade shows and seminars. It was nothing like one-to-one. It was more mass. And the more I studied that career, my role and what I needed to do, I realized, oh, this is actually marketing. And my interest in people, I learned that is, oh, this is actually what marketers do for a living. And that's when I started to think, well, not actually, I guess I aspire to think, oh, what would an occupation look like in a world where I do this for a living? And during that, I saw this opportunity at Wonderman, who I actually applied for as a copywriter at first. I went through a test and I was told I was one of the finalists, but eventually I was cut. But instead of a copywriter role, they gave me an AE role. And I was like, cool, foot in the door. So I started there. And immediately I was handed, I think it was 3 clients. I had no idea prior knowledge to the industry. And I was handed 3 clients for 2 people who were out the door. So I had like 3 weeks to absorb everything that was happening. And I didn't even realize what I was doing when I was signing off those papers. But eventually I was signing that I knew what they were doing and I could fully do it. I didn't maybe 3 months passed until I realized, oh, that was what that was. But I think I never went through an elite path of marketing, but I think I went through the grits of it and I learned it hard. And while I was learning it hard, I feel I think I was able to digest the essence of what marketing is supposed to be rather than what it is or the current state of what people are doing, media, whatnot. And from there on, I've always been, so what can I do to, make a mark in this? What can I do to solve this problem in a way where it's a win-win for everybody? And I think as in an advertising or a creative agency role, I think I was able to experience so many different types of problems. I was doing a product book for a pharmaceutical company for rheumatoid arthritis. On the same day, I'm doing a photo shoot for a Burger King menu board. So I'm looking at images where they have dissected fingers, but I'm also looking at meat at the same time to feed around. And the next day I go to a fashion show thing for Levi. So I'm like, I go through these, I think I learned how to compartmentalize things, make sure that they don't mix. You do never want to mix black box pharmaceuticals with F&B. That did not look great.
Yeah. And I know one of the things you mentioned to me offline, if you will, was the creation of the Quattro Cheese Whopper.
Yeah, that was fun.
Tell us that story.
That I think marked my exit. But my client was struggling with a concept. So her boss gave her the idea of use 4 to make a product. So we were at actually a photo shoot for a different menu board, and she was talking to us, and she was telling me, would you eat a burger with 4 patties? I'm like, are you crazy? So she tells me she goes through this problem that she has, that she needs to use 4. She's the only thing, and during that 15-minute conversation, like, well, you go to Costco. There's a 3 cheese blend. All you need is fill 4, right? You get 4 cheeses, and there you go. And I'm pretty sure that's far better to stomach than 4 patties. And eventually that became a limited time offer product. I did the Quattro Cheese Whopper concept, did an LTO run with it, did a media campaign, the launch campaign. And I think 6 months later, this was in South Korea, by the way.
Okay.
6 months later, I believe Singapore picked it up as a menu. And then a few years later, I see the menu 4 cheese Whopper pop up in the American Burger King menu board.
Wow.
I think the whole process of that just really inspired me to think, oh, this is how you make impact. So I actually saw the problem in a way, my client's problem in a way the market would actually appreciate. So I think that really inspired me to think, oh, I can't do this every day if I'm on the agency side. Even the greatest ads of the day, I think, it's not the agency, it's the client that signs off on it.
Exactly.
So I wanted to be the guy that is able to sign off on amazing projects. So hence Gentle Monster.
It's your legacy, dude. It's like the 4 cheese Whopper. But Gentle Monster, that's a good segue into, and I know there you did a lot of experiential marketing, right? And talk a little bit about that kind of marketing and why you think that's so important, that kind of experiential.
Right. I think Gentle Monster at the time, it launched the early 20 or late 2000, I think. But it was one of the pioneers that really brought in a different reason to come to a store. They saw that the world was changing in a way where e-com was coming up and people were more, stores, the retail experience was boring. And I think at the same time, in Korea, that is where the brand was born, there was a problem where fine artists and people that have an art degree didn't really have a great place to go. And I think Gentle Monster really picked a great spot where they said, oh, let's combine art and commerce in a way where it's art centric. And the meaning of that is just building stores that is more a complete memory. And the pieces are a piece of the art as a sentimental piece. The pieces individually are also, of course, crafted and designed in specific ways, but it's all meant to be an immersive experience where you're part of this idea of a brand. And I think for my role, they already had everything set up. They had this great brand and image. The problem there is that they launched in Korea, which was a very closed circuit internet environment. So everything they did was not getting picked up by Google and by the time I was part of their brand, they already had like 10 years of heritage, but nothing here. So for me, my job was pretty easy. So all I had to do is kind of move things so it would bring the same emotion. Of course, it can't be one-to-one. The investment is different. America, it's impossible to build here, especially in California. One example is one of the main reasons I joined General Monster is they have a building in Seoul. It's one of the prime locations in Seoul, a commerce location. They have a 4-story building. And in the first floor, they remove all product and just have a rotating art installation. For 4 weeks, they would have one art installation. It would be either media, performance, it could be whatever, installation art. After 4 weeks, they would shut it down for 2 weeks and open it back up with a completely different concept. They did that for like 36 rounds. And I just imagined myself trying to do that in America. And that would take us like 30 years. the permits involved is, but because it wasn't a simple rip off and build again. It was like structural changes too. They really treated their experiences differently. But being able to translate that to the US was a great task or a challenge to tackle. And I think creating the retail experiences like we did for in LA and Valley Fair with the robots, it was ultimately me just trying to express how General Monster can be their brand, the brand in the US market, penetrating the Western market as well as keeping their own.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot the question as I go on.
No, it's fine. Again, you're sleep deprived. So, hey, sorry for the interruption. We're going to get back to our show in one quick second, but stay with me. If you're in the need for anything SEO and or link building related, you need to do yourself one quick favor. You need to go to the website that's on the screen right now, stanventures.com. Go there, tell them Steve O sent you. The rest will take care of itself. Trust me, you can thank me later. But before we move on to experiential marketing, for those listening, are there tips you can give to, marketers who want to utilize that type of marketing for their brand, just in general, for, when it comes to experiential marketing?
Right. I think a lot of designers go at design for spaces as flat surfaces. So when you combine flat surfaces together, it no longer is a cohesive space. You have to understand that the steps I take, the sounds that I hear, and everything that goes into the ambience is part of the design. I think creating the journey, it's more of a UX UI design rather than a static space design. And when we do experience for General Monster, I was always trying to guide a flow. So we want people to walk a certain way and interact with certain things in a certain sequence, but we can't by law control that means by egress. But we can influence it. And I think with General Monster, the first store in LA, this was most evident in the first launch. The first launch, we had a 200 square foot space in the front of the store that had zero product. And this was meant to just kind of spark some inspiration in the region of downtown LA, which was pretty bad at the time. But it was to make people search what General Monster is, because we know that you don't know us. We understand it, and we're going to work on that. But we want to inspire people to try to discover us, not so much us force feed us to you. So in a way, we try to make it as more a gallery. So we would have people coming in and seeing asking what this is. Is this a gallery? No, it's a store. Please come on in, and help them flow into the next region of the store, which kind of gives them a transition. So it was more like a speakeasy store in the beginning, where it looked like a gallery, but in reality, it's a store. And even through the store, we continued the same story. So it was harvest when you first launched. And the whole concept was you're expressing the full steps of how to harvest rice. And in the beginning, it was more of a ceremonial gesture to simplify our marriage between Eastern and Western cultures. General Monster coming into California. So we brought in a lot of mother of pearl finish, which is like a very a luxury finish in Korea that's used in marriages and stuff. Marital practice. So we use a lot of that finish all in the paddy fields, and just kind of expressed our entrance into the US culture, trying to be not just flat right American, but us whilst penetrating your market, trying to get to know you as I want you to get to know us as we are, who we are for. And then we invite them into the store. We guide them through a handmade paddy field of rotted rice fields. It's hard to express. If you go on General Monster, you can see it. But the first one had a set sequence where you walk through the process of paddy field, rice, fully grown rice, and then a tractor, and then you had a thrasher. And at the end of the thrasher, there was a bell. that would ring to signify the end of harvesting. And it was a Zen moment where people in the middle of downtown LA to come. And even if you don't look at product, we had 3 installations in there from an actual media artist. People can come, experience the art, just take it in and hear the story of General Monster, hear the story of what we were trying to do there. And I think people really reacted well to that. Even if sales wasn't that good in the beginning, I think a lot of people came, a lot of people that meant something, not just random people off the street, but people that were working in downtown LA for press and stylists and whatnot would come by because it's another thing to do in downtown LA at the time. There's nothing else to do. And it just became a bit of I would like to call it a landmark.
And it was very important too, not to state the obvious, but I will, that you had the support of senior management to know that this was not going to happen overnight.
This was, yes. And also our senior management is the one encouraging us to do this. They do not want to do the commercial route. They do not want to force feed people. In the beginning, they at least wanted to build a foundation of trust with the core audience, the cores of each niches before we did any media plays. So I think the first 3 years while I was at General Monster, it was more so building relationships with talent, with these different companies, media companies, other brands, doing these collaborations and just getting our name out there.
I love it. And it's a good segue too, David, into, I love this. You called what I'm about to say the new norm, and that's the phygital, right? The combination of physical and digital, right? And I know you have a lot of thoughts on that again, because you're calling it the new norm. It's already here, a brick and mortar, physical, and then the digital. How do brands, make sure, because again, to the consumer, I shouldn't say again, but to me, it's obvious. And I know to you, to the consumer, it's one brand, whether you go into a store, whether you go online. How do you make sure, how do brands, when it comes to the phygital, have my first question is, how do you make sure you have a unified same messaging experience across both physical and digital?
I think it's extremely difficult. With General Monster, I had the opportunity to control all retail and brand experience, so media, everything. So I was able to control everything holistically. And even then, each store would have a different problem. Each store would have a different product that wasn't selling and would want to, do something different. So just being able to have an umbrella concept and, controlling the segues that people can have freedom with. I think that was important. But on a official channel standpoint, we made sure that we were saying just one thing, a singular voice, and staying on track to what we wanted to do for the time being. For that would be more of a long-term or mid-to-long-term strategy than anything else. But at the same time, what we experimented with in General Monster is opening individual retail store websites in which they can interact with their individual clientele, because we do consider ourselves a luxury brand. And I think a big thing of being luxury is having a clientele to have VIP moments with. And so allowing for individual store websites and e-commerce experiences allowed them to call and order for them, because we did have exclusive collaborations and whatnot that would have like 5 drop in a store. They would be able to offer that as a service, expand their networks, and also bring in new clients through these various types of services. I think I understood that marketing needs to be one thing, but also that the consumer needs certain things as well. So being able to offer the same at the same time, but just considering them as different channels, I think was very important. Something that I was fortunate enough to experience with in General Monster.
Yeah. You said something too about when we were talking about Phygital offline, and you said not only the new norm, but I think you said something like, we just haven't realized it yet. And that's a really powerful statement. And my first thought was, who is he referring to when he says we? Do you mean marketers? Do you mean consumers? Both?
I think everybody. I think the first time I saw a digital menu board was back in 2011. And I think that was one thing that a lot of consumers kind of missed. And I think a lot of brands are really killing it with. If you look at menu boards, I can't come up with one specific one right now, but modern day menu boards are TV screens, and the menus have illustrations or illuminations behind them. And I think I saw this at a boba place one time, and they would have almost a live feed of what the best sellers are. And I think people that were just standing from their menus, not knowing what to drink, for them, that's a great way to move the line along, and also for the consumer to be more informed on what is the latest trend or whatnot in terms of what they should order. I think that is a great example of how digital has replaced what used to be a static menu board and is actually excelling at what it's doing. Also, vending machine. I actually made 3 vending machines for Flexfit for trade shows. It's part of a survey. But the more I studied vending machines, it's not mechanical no more. It's a computer. So we were able to make a vending machine which will trade you a hat for a set number of answers to a survey. And based on your answers, I can recommend you a hat. I could basically give you anything on whatever input I can do. So it came down to it's simply an oversized app. And with that logic, I could probably apply this app to anything in this world and make it work. So I'm just thinking, we just haven't figured out where to apply it to benefit us. The technology already exists and is being used there and there.
Today you created a survey vending machine that you used in trade shows to gain feedback. That's brilliant.
I think I would say so.
It is. I'll say it for you.
It's like last year, just like PGA show is a golf show in Orlando. Last year, the previous year we did like 79 visitors. This year we did over 1,000.
Wow! And the difference was the vending machine.
Difference was the vending machine. Same location.
Is it kind of, sorry to interrupt you, is it kind of like the gamification of surveys in some ways?
I think, yes, the instant gratification is probably a big thing, but also trade shows, these people, in my mind, these people have been to trade shows all their life. Like a lot of these people, and PGA show, if they're at one PGA show, they've been to 20. I can say at least 5. And so I wanted to offer something different in ways of something to talk about later. And also I wanted to make sure that I'm gaining something from it, not just giving away product, but not just getting a scan, but also gaining a means to work on improving product or services for the following year. So that's a survey would be a great way to do that. And I'm thinking at the same time, I don't want to be out there doing surveys. Like I don't want to be out there on my feet all day. So what's a great medium to do that? A computer. So how do we give them a product? Vending machine. So how could we connect the two together? And as we did some research, it already existed. We just didn't realize it. It's just swapping out the programming for a different system for different logic. And then of course we had to custom build the machine to work with hats, but the mechanism of it was rather simple.
It's fascinating. That's really fascinating. I can see why your numbers went way up as opposed to just, going from, like you said, going from show to show and booth to booth.
Mm-hmm. Well, it did help that our OR show or PJ show, we had a concept that made it pop a little bit. It was a sliding vending machine where the machine will open up so you can walk into our booth. Right. But even so, it broke midway through. So it was never really that, but it was an amazing show.
So tell the listeners as we come up against our time here, but I want them to hear about Flexfit. What do you want people to know about the brand, where it's been, where it's going? Anything you want to share about the brand?
Flexfit is a technology that was developed by UPool, which just celebrated their 50th anniversary this year. And their whole existence is based on comfort perfection. So the founder made the company thinking that, we can definitely make a more comfortable hat back in the day in 1974. And along the way, they found or realized that, these hats, these fitted hats, these snapback hats, these could be a little bit more comfortable if it were stretchy. Hence the development of Flexfit, which was the world's first stretchy hat. And a lot of people just know it for the stretchy band, but for the band to stretch, it needs to be the whole hat to stretch. So it's a lot of textile innovation that's involved into making a hat stretch. And we have the patent for that, but recently I've seen a lot of other brands trying to replicate what we've been doing. But we see them fail because it's not just the band. It's the entire thing that needs to stretch with it. And there's a composition with it that's very secretive. But the whole idea of Flexfit is to make sure that we make a hat that's performance driven, comfort worthy. So it looks like trousers, but it wears like sweatpants is basically what I try to express it. A lot of people don't like sweatpants because it looks casual, but you can't argue that it's comfortable, I feel.
Correct.
But with our hats, compared to a fitted hat, is the same design, same look. You don't have any openings in the back, but it's stretchy. So it's essentially wearing a sweatpants on your head. And there's no marks on the outside to show anything. So I would say it's more comfortable. It's more logical. But at the same time, on a business standpoint, the same hat covers far more sizes in terms of fitted caps. So for businesses, it makes more sense to stock up on different designs rather than same design, more inventory in terms of sizing. Right. So it's a very strategical choice for businesses also, I say.
Last question is, what's the future hold for the brand?
We're doubling down in our technology. I think my role is to make sure that people understand that there is a technology involved in hats. I think a lot of people don't really care about that, but my role is to continue to make sure that people understand that there's so much more that can go into your hat to make sure that you don't get any sweat stains, to make sure that it's sustainable for the future. We recently launched a product with WSL and Seawool, which was a product made out of discarded oyster shells and plastic bottles.
Wow.
I think it's an amazing science. It's an amazing texture too. I think I'm very excited about that. But I think there's a lot of textile innovation that is still to come. A lot of it should be more geared towards the future, not trying to say that we're completely green, but we're at least trying to make sure that we're working towards a better tomorrow for the next generation. And I think we're investing a lot into the communities behind that. So we're working with a lot of organizations with children to make sure that we are not just being commercial, but also being a big part of the community to help it move forward.
I love that. I fully support any brand that does that. So David Kim, my friend, listen, thank you so much for being our guest today. What a great, oh my gosh. And I knew this time was going to fly by when we talked before this, because we hit it all so well. But thank you so much for your time today, my friend.
Thank you so much. It was great being here. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. Yeah, I don't remember any of it, but it was fun. I remember it was fun. Thank you so much.
You got it. Hey, I'm the guy from the video you just saw. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Now do yourself a favor. If you haven't already, subscribe to our content. Believe it or not, unconfirmed rumors and reports, you will see an increase in 20% in organic traffic just by subscribing. Okay, maybe not, but it's fun, right? But do yourself a favor, really. Subscribe to our content. You won't be sorry. Thanks.